Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being at our session where we are supposed to be non-sitting. See, that's why I'm dressed like a staff member. I'm at your service, of course, but our idea is that we go around and meet the speakers and know what they think and meet and greet and so on. So I invite Mr. Teran, which is comfortably sitting already, to get over there and take your post and take please your laptop. He will be showing us what he has developed as the HCX, which is part of a community, and that's the point of this session. This session is to learn geospatial data. Would that be possible in 60 minutes, in 75 minutes? That's an open question. So I'm really glad that you're here, and we'll begin by Monica, there on her corner with her computer, that we're showing ideas from the Idea Maps session. Can we get the audio from Dana from Idea Maps as well? Dana is already?
Hello.
Yeah, hello Dana. How are you doing?
Fabulous.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. You are based where? And please introduce yourself.
My name is Dana Thompson. I'm a visiting researcher at University of Twente, which is in the Netherlands, but I'm actually in the UK, in London.
Okay, thank you for that. So after Dana, Olga will be speaking. She's standing there, but she shouldn't. She should be by the side of Monica. Please take a chair and take your laptop. You see, people, we are trying to change a little bit things out, you know, because we feel like, you know, this typical academic format is not really working, or at least it doesn't make us, you know, feel the vibe, okay? So we're trying to get the feel of a revolution, of a data revolution. One of the gays of revolutionary, do you say revolutionary? No. To do a revolution about data should be changing up things. So what we thought about is, yeah, exactly that. Having tables, this was not rehearsed really, but having tables for visiting people per each place, right? So Monica will start explaining you what she will be portraying at the big screens, and then it will be Dana's turn, and then it will be Olga's turn, and then it will be Javier's turn. But before that, I would like to introduce you to someone I really look up for, because he has been working a lot on the data revolution. Can we go through the slides right now? This would be Mr. Steve McFeely. Oh, that's myself. No, that's not Steve McFeely, really. I'm the facilitator, and let's go to the next slide. I just wanted to show you that we will start with a Mentimeter survey, which is already being surveyors, you know, in some regard. And we would like you to answer us which are the areas you'll be interested in that we could cover with geospatial data. Just only that. Open geospatial data with open geospatial software like OpenStreetMap and others, QGIS, and so on. And after that, if we go to the next slide, you will see that this is the general idea. This is what I was speaking about because I was so, you know, in a rush to take advantage of the time, but basically it's introducing Steve and introducing myself and introducing the format and then going to the pictures, because we always speak about speaker number one, speaker number two, so impersonal, right? But we will give him in speeches here. That would be to pitch your idea in 5 minutes. That's the challenge behind this. And we will be doing it, if you could follow me in the invitation, by visiting each of the speakers. You can get up from your chairs right now and get closer, for instance, to Monica, that will be the speaking. In the meanwhile, please click again. And please, people, let's do that. Are we into it, or do you feel like we go all to the academic table and just do it as usual, huh? No, come on, let's shake things up. Yeah, get out. Yeah, that's it. Let's get closer. She's a flesh and bone person. She's very intelligent, by the way. And she knows a lot about slum mapping. That's a great issue, which is also covered by many communities.
Okay, yes,
and she will be showing us her own pitches. By the way, if you turn around again, you will see that the slides show the order of how we are going to be presented. First, it's myself. Well, I'm Javier Carranza. I'm the director of GeoCensos Foundation. I'm trying to change things up, and I guess I'm succeeding somehow. And after me, please check again the slide. It would be Steve. Steve will be introducing the snake bite information, the project that is developed by the World Health Organization and speaking about citizen-generated data. After Steve, we will have, who will have, please go there. That'd be Monica, as I explained. She will be the first speaker. And the second speaker would be, please click again, that will be Mr. Javier Teran and also Dana Thompson that you have been introduced already. And the third and fourth speaker will be Olga and also Eki, that is based in the Netherlands. That'll be Olga. Olga is sitting there. She's a bit short. Come again.
I'm a short person. I'm here.
Okay, she's a small person and she is good.
I'm here.
In a small cup. Okay, and after finally that, we'll have Mr. Eki. He is from University of Twente and has just finished his master's degree. He will demonstrate in the use of a very good tool, I understand, for geospatial and open source that is called CRIB. This is developed by ISPRA, and I hope you enjoy it. And after that, we'll have also HDX by Mr. Javier Saran on the other side of the room. But anyway, right now, we'll go to, and I please suggest you turn your faces to the scenario, to Steve Maffield that will be standing exactly in the middle, but please don't go back to the chairs. You, Steve, go by.
Okay, so I have no idea where I'm supposed to be. So
No, you're supposed to be yourself. You are yourself. Go
I'm
ahead.
going to stand here.
Okay.
I hope my slides will come up on screen. So welcome everybody to this slightly anarchic session. So I'm going to talk a little bit about two things. One, I'm going to show you an illustration of a platform we've developed at the World Health Organization, which illustrates a point I'm going to make in the second half of the talk. So can I get my slides? Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, we launched the snakebite information data platform. So snake bites, you think, okay, well, big deal.
Yeah.
There's about 300 venomous snakes dotted around the world. And it's an often neglected topic. So in fact, we call these neglected non-communicable diseases. What this platform does, for me, it's a very interesting combination of geospatial information, citizen science, and traditional statistics. So what we've done, how do I work this thing now? Let's try this. Yeah. We've mapped the habitats of about 300 different venomous snakes around the world. So by mapping out where they live, you can see where the snakes are. We've also mapped all the health facilities in the same area where you can get treatment if you get bitten. So which health facilities have anti-venom? Which types of anti-venom do they have? We're also mapping the changing environment, because what we're seeing is the environment for snake habitat is changing due to the changing environment, and also due to us. We're slowly encroaching upon nature, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've endured the pandemic we've just endured, is we're just squeezing nature all the time, and that's forcing habitats to move. What we do then, you see all these little dots. We launched this database about 2 weeks ago. This is now people loading up onto the database that they've seen a snake. They put up a picture of the snake, and there's a lot of metadata inside digital photographs now. So we have an algorithm that interrogates the photograph, it interrogates the geospatial information, it also interrogates the photograph and classifies it into one of the 300. And then we can see whether the snakes that are being identified by people are actually in the habitat that they're supposed to be in, or whether they've moved. Now, one of the challenges, of course, is the photographs aren't always great. Often, if you see a puff adder, you don't have time to really kind of neatly shape the photograph. You know, you generally tend to be moving pretty briskly in the other direction. But some people somehow managed, they have the wherewithal to actually take a picture. And this is amazing. This is what's actually working. The other thing then is you can also get the statistics around snake bite and snake attack. So how many people die from snake, how many people have amputations, and so forth. And all of this is bundled into one nice little portal. The snake bite you can take, it's maybe a slightly trivial example, but I think what we're doing, this can be applied to so many other parts of medicine and statistics. And this is where I want to come to the second part. So at the last World Data Forum, when we all left Dubai happy, one of the things we'd agreed was that the data demands for the 2030 agenda require new solutions that leverage the power and new data sources, technologies through partnerships between national statistical authorities, which is some of you guys, private sector, civil society, academia, and research. So that's what we agreed, but we didn't really agree how to do it. And I think in the last 2 years, we've still been struggling with this idea. So this is the aspiration, but how do we achieve it? And in a paper, myself and a colleague, Bojan, there he is, down at the back of the room. We wrote this paper, and this was one idea of how we might do this. This was how you could accredit unofficial statistics, put them through an accreditation system, and actually use them for SDG purposes. Now, snake bites, there isn't actually an SDG indicator on snake bites, surprisingly. But we've developed an algorithm that effectively is accrediting the photographs and the information that we're getting in from the public. So we're using their data to produce statistics, and they come out of the WHO, so I guess we can call that official. And I think this is a really kind of tangible example and a usable example of something very, very simple, but very, very effective. And that's the point. Citizen science, all of this stuff, it doesn't have to be super complicated. It just has to be useful. And this is where we're marrying data. We've given you an application that tells you if you're going to an area, if you want to prepare in advance, if you're kind of paranoid, these are the types of snakes you might encounter. This is where you can get anti-venom if the worst happens to the worst. And if you want to work out your probability before you even go on holiday, you can see, well, how many people typically die of that type of snake bite? And then you might decide, well, I won't bother going on holiday at all. So extremely useful. So with that, I would like to conclude. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a great information and also initiative. Would you please hand the slide scroller to her?
Who's her?
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
I'm
Monica.
here.
Cool.
Monica. Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Monica.
So what if we join Monica and get closer to her table and meet and greet her? This is a meet and greet event, and we try to know her. Monica will introduce herself, and I invite everyone to check her work. You can check it here, but you can also check it in the big screens. But the idea is to have a closer, a closer view of the speakers and also about the ideas. And you can still, find her out and after you present to ask her more questions and so on. This is a sort of speed geeking format. You all heard about speed geeking, I guess, didn't you? How many of you have heard? Like 2 or 3, I guess. But you all heard about speed dating, right? So this is almost the same. You are dating with an idea, you see? And that's how you change things, or at least we think so. So, Monica, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself and greet people and make them feel comfortable, as always.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Javier. And I think it's a great session, and also the format, because the sitting is the new smoking, so we try to break it for you. So I'm Monica Kuffer from ITC, University of Twente. I'm working for many years with a focus on low and mid-income countries, or how you want to refer, Global South, majority world, now a new term coming up. And basically what we observe in these regions is that there are massive data gaps in official data. And particularly also, I'm personally very much focusing on the urban areas, and we know that there are massive data gaps in urban areas, and particularly massive data gaps on the most deprived parts of the city, normally areas which you maybe refer as slums or informal settlements. And these data gaps have been increasing also in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, but they're sort of always existing. But on the other hand, you have new emerging data sets like geospatial data sets, which are there and which are great, but we have to combine them. Like that's an example of the World Settlement Footprint layer, which focusing on Khartoum, on Sudan, an area we are in a moment working on. And we have been, oops, that's the wrong direction. Oops, no, yeah. We have been brainstorming how this type of data, sorry, I'm not able to maintain both parallel. We have been brainstorming, let's say, what are the benefits and how we can bring together geospatial data with official data set, and also what are the roles, particularly on when we focus on the deprived urban areas, so what are the advantage of geospatial data sets. In terms of spatial and temporal granularity, they can be produced like every year an update on a city scale showing socioeconomic variation on a city scale. They can also focus on aspects which are important for communities, not only showing the risk, but also the assets of communities present in communities. And they can be communicated in open data platforms. And that's what we are looking into also in a project we are doing in Sudan on how to combine community-based information with geospatial data to support decision-making processes of several ministries, and particularly focusing on the deprived urban areas, which are typically not seen in data sets and where the information is very scattered. And that's something which my colleagues will also follow up in further talks. On the development of data ecosystems which focus on, particularly on the urban deprived communities and combining official data sets with community-based data and geospatial data sets. And I won't take too long, and I want to hand over to my colleague Dana, who will explain you much more on the work we do within idea maps, which is focusing on modeling deprived urban areas on a city scale at a very fine spatial granularity. So I would now go to Dana. I don't know. Javier, I'm not sure if I'm now in the next session because the next person will be joining online.
Yes, thank you. We are kind of suffering sort of a crisis because,
Yes,
yeah, you should hand it to Olga right now. Olga
Okay.
would be checking the quality assurance issue, and she will be showing about
yeah.
how to certify and how to assure quality for data. I guess the dates are getting a bit less interesting, so we'll try the usual approach, but still it's something to be considered for the next time. I'm sorry that we don't have Zoom right now, but yeah, I know. We'll solve that anyway, yeah. And please go ahead, Olga, but she's still going to be recorded, right? She can be recorded, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know. Please come with me, I will explain. Go ahead, Olga.
Okay.
Yours the floor.
Okay, hi. I have to be here on the platform because, you know,
She's very small.
I
That's what
want
she
you.
wants to say.
I want you to see me. Hey, my name is Olga Henker. I'm from Colombia. I'm senior advisor of Global Colombia Certification, which is an assessment body. So, data certification, enhancing participation and collaboration in the construction of reliable data sources. I'm going to have my notes because you can see English is my native language. Okay, next. Okay, so we have some sentences, very important, about collaboration. For example, the arguments put forward highlight the potential for collaboration. This is for Steve McFeely, here present. Data integration is a team sport. This in Spanish for our Spanish audience. Los organismos internacionales, OSCs y el sector privado deberían implicarse en esta revolución de datos. A lot of people must be involved in the data revolution. And from Javier Carranza, the man with the hat, data has the power to tell stories. This is very, very important. So, based on this, next, collaboration is the key. We have here a flashback. Our proposal is based on approach of McFeely, Mr. McFeely here. He showed this before. He proposed this, a certification to use this data about, through a certification, as I can see. So, this is very important because the certification of data from non-traditional sources facilitates its future use in many environments, including calculation of sustainable development goals of the 2030 agenda. This is very, very important, and this involves the stakeholders in the ecosystem. This is very important. We have read a lot of papers from Mr. McFeely. We admire his job, his know, and we are not invented the warm water. This is made, and this is very important. We must focus on this kind of proposal. So, we are talking about certification process. Certification process. Certification process is an easy process based on planning, execution, verify, and act. The famous plan, do, verify, and act. Where a relevant specific aspect is the initial definition here, the initial definition of purpose, scope, and evaluation criteria in order to generate an objective decision. Data certification is accessible because it is based on an ISO standard. Standard is a common language. We know that this standard is made to facilitate the exchange of information, so they are possible to comply with. Okay, see the next. Here we have a practical example. Some months ago, in the rural area of Sutatausa, difficult name for English speakers, in the rural area of Sutatausa, Colombia, an attempt was made to collect information of the characteristics of the population to generate cultural and productive projects that prevent their transfer to the cities. There were drawbacks, problems, crises, that in a new effort will be mitigated with the application of a standard. So what happened? These people made an important effort, but we, GeoCensos volunteers, and we, GCC volunteers, are going to help with what? With the standards. On this problem, difference in the applied process, okay, use of a standardized process, like ISO 9001. Loss of information, please use security of the information, ISO 27001. Okay, materialization of unforeseen risk, okay, use risk management, ISO 31000. And failure to define data quality characteristics, okay, you can use quality data, ISO 25012. This is very important. There's a lot of standards that are there to be used. Please don't forget it. Are the product of important effort, so please give them a view. So, concluding remarks, very quickly. Okay, data certification is an excellent way to enhance participation and collaboration in the construction of reliable data sources. Very important. Collaboration between different actors in the statistical environment or ecosystem requires a common language. The standards are the right way to go, but it is not necessary to each project to create its own standards. What is necessary is to agree on common language. We are in Switzerland. I don't know, maybe this is the home of ISO standards. Could be this, I don't know, destiny called, something like that, I don't know. This is a sign. It's very important, please don't forget. There is a lot of standards. Okay, next. Actions should be implemented departing from collaborative arrangement with different data sources in order to implement certification, both process and products, very important. Anticipating an imminent data revolution, NCOs should commit themselves to promote the culture of certification of data quality, not only focusing in the product, but also in the process. So this is important. I'm going to make a, I don't know, commercial. We would like to take this opportunity to congratulate GeoCensos. Javier, where is Javier? Please. Because they, in GeoCensos, have recently obtained the 37,001 certification. GeoCensos is the first NGO certified in Colombia working for transparency. And to be honest, GeoCensos show us that they think and talk, and they show the same view all the time. So for being a small NGO, this is a big effort. So I ask you please an applause for this effort from GeoCensos. And
Olga, thank you very much.
okay, people want to see you, please.
Sure. Thank you.
I
We had
the last one.
brief
Okay,
crisis, but went through.
Finally, and as usual, participation of civil society in this process should be prioritized, mostly because transparency of the results through cross control should be an issue, a major issue. This is very important. We must involve. Data has a superpower. It tells story, and we need collaboration, and we need to help us because we just have one world and we don't have a big plan. So thank you very much for your time. Remember, we are in GeoCensos to help you in anything you want around data certification. Thank you. That's all. Javier?
Well, right now, what we are trying to get in is to Dana. Are you hearing us, Dana?
I'm back.
Okay, you're back. Come on board.
Great, thank
Pitch
you.
us, please. You don't, do you hear?
Yes, I hear. I'm just waiting for the slides to be up.
Oh, sure. Can we show?
I'm trying.
Oh, no. She has her own there. You didn't find them. Probably the slide deck has
pressing all the
the
buttons.
whole set of them.
No, it's not.
I
it's
can
not
get
on.
started.
Yeah, you can. You show it from the side anyway?
Sure,
Okay,
let me
great.
do that.
Great. Thanks.
Oh, we're,
Good. I'm pressing
it's
here.
up. Okay, great. Thank
Great.
you. Next slide, please.
Welcome.
So I'm Dana Thompson, and I coordinate the Idea Maps network, and I'm going to be pitching 3 potential data innovations for SDG 11 monitoring. Next slide, please. So Idea Maps means the Integrated Deprived Area Mapping System, and we represent 4 mostly siloed approaches to mapping slums and informal settlements. I think Monica might have flagged this while we were offline. The idea is to leverage the strengths of each of our different disciplines while overcoming the limitations, because on our own, none of us are successfully mapping slums and informal settlements routinely or accurately at scale across a bunch of cities. And this is something we need to be able to do to track SDG 11, but also for urban planning, for community advocacy, and dozens of other use cases at local to national level. So what we're doing is leveraging the accuracy and context relevance of community maps. We are taking advantage of census and survey data, not as a way of defining slum areas, but just as a way of documenting social issues. We are taking advantage of the imagery that gets digitized by local experts from NGOs, from local government and other actors, and understanding where there is agreement and disagreement about what is deprived and defined as deprived locally. This matters. And finally, we're using the scalability of computer machine learning modeling and artificial intelligence modeling to integrate these data sets with a whole bunch of external spatial data sets that tend to focus on physical environment. And together, all of this data can be modeled and can produce a gridded output like the one you see in the middle, with deprivation mapped from most to least deprived in these tiny little grid squares that are about the size of a city block. This is very intentional and was developed with all of the stakeholders at the table. The idea is to obfuscate or blur the exact boundaries of slums and informal settlements so that we're not putting people at risk of eviction, fines, harassment, etc. And the 100-meter scale helps to hide altogether the most vulnerable, what we might call pocket slums, which are extra tiny settlements of slum households or informal households. So please read more about our concept paper at the link. Next slide, please. This whole ecosystem requires an infrastructure on the back end. And so this is what we're in the process of developing right now, is a way of exchanging data across different scales and types of stakeholders for our various different purposes. So yellow shows data going into the ecosystem and blue shows data coming out of the ecosystem. There is a modeler interface somewhere on the back end, and the back end with a bunch of data and ability to process that data is under development. And hopefully we will soon have the funding to design the user interface as well. The basic concept here is that all of the different stakeholders can put data into the system. For example, community and local governments provide a really important input, which is the boundary of neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods are classified as deprived, not deprived, or somewhere in the middle. And in return, the exchange immediately is a bunch of other data that are summarized from all of the data that we take from satellite imagery, census, et cetera, on the back end. The relevant variables in the relevant formats are summarized. So this might be, for example, the maximum temperature in your neighborhood last year compared to the maximum temperature in the city at large. These are open data, but not very accessible to the average community-based user. It's also vitally important that any of the modeled outputs are actually validated against community data, and it's not just the modelers doing the validation, but actually community, local government, or even national government, depending on who is mandated to monitor and work on slum upgrading. That those local stakeholders are doing the validation. So there's an iterative process as you move through from left to right, this modeling phase. And once the stakeholders locally are satisfied with the output, they produce their gridded map. And they now have something they can use for monitoring SDG 11, for program planning, for policy, informing policies, et cetera. And these will, so let's go to the, just push forward. And the value added here is the relationship of connecting different stakeholders that normally don't get connected. So data scientists with community, data scientists with local decision makers. Next slide, please. So I'm now going to pitch 3 different data sets that we are hoping to work on in the next year or 2, and we would love to have participation from an open data community. And so that's who I assume are some of you in the audience. So if you would like to get involved, one of the data sets we're working on is maximum urban extent. Next, please. Just keep pushing forward. Here we go. The maximum urban extent combines the administrative boundary of a city as well as built area. And the idea of the maximum urban extent is we are agnostic to what the city boundary definition is, but different stakeholders have different definitions and we wish to support them. And so we will model deprived areas in the largest extent available so it can be trimmed down. The second set of data has to do with training and validation. Ultimately, if the whole ecosystem is working in a healthy kind of way and people are getting meaningful information out of it and contributing meaningful information in, we will have regular training and validation data. But to get started, the first set of data might come from OpenStreetMap if we can simply, with some certainty, map specific 100-meter grid cells that are deprived residential areas, other built areas, or not built up areas. So that is the second set of data we're working on. And third, next slide. There are dozens and dozens of covariates, or things that help us to predict the location, or actually the range of deprived to not deprived areas. It's based, we're processing all of this data into 9 categories, or what we call domains of deprivation. These are things that define deprivation in any city anywhere in the world, from Bern to Bogota, right? The specific indicators of that domain of deprivation will vary widely by context, and also data availability will be different around the world. So the idea is to process dozens of spatial covariates from satellite imagery, open source platforms, government, etc., into a common 100-meter format and make them available for this modeling process. So those are 3 ways that you can contribute. Next slide, please. Reach out to us at admin@ideamapsnetwork.org or on Twitter @ideamapsnetwork if you would like to get involved. And if you are not a data scientist, but you would like to get involved in some other way, you can also reach out. There's lots of different ways to be involved with the Idea Maps Network. Thank you.
Okay, let's offer that an applause, please. Okay, thank you very much. You know, us human beings, we are like a string. You know, we can be pressed, decompressed, and we get used to things, but we still, have to go back to our original position. I don't know if you understand, but you are all invited to meet right now to Javier Terán from UNOCHA. He's a statistician. He might not be like to visit, but I recommend you get close to him because he will start with the HDH platform and explaining how do they deal in the humanitarian realm with geospatial data and also statistical data, which are integrated and they're used for good. Go ahead, Javier, yours floor.
Thank you, Tocayo. I don't know if you can put the slides. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back. So I want to take the opportunity to talk to you about the Humanitarian Data Exchange, which is one of the flagship services, I would say, of the Center for Humanitarian Data. So the Humanitarian Data Exchange is an open platform where humanitarians can find data to use it for analysis. What is the data that we have on XDX? So Steve, unfortunately, we don't have the snake bites yet there, but if you want to share it, I will be more than happy in my capacity of data hunter to get that data on XDX. But at this stage, maybe it's not a threat for humanitarians. So the data that you find on XDX is basically can be defined in 3 blocks. First of all, you can find data about the context of a crisis. So that means data about boundaries of a country at the subnational level, data about literacy rates, data about mortality rates, data about poverty. All these data sets in a machine-readable format can be found on the platform. Another type of data that you can find on XDX is the data about the people affected. So all the data about IDPs, refugees, returnees, people affected by a hurricane, by an earthquake, all these granularity of data sets can be found on XDX as well. And the last type of data that you can find on the platform is data about the response of organizations trying to help those people who are affected. So what is UNICEF? What type of data UNICEF is collecting on a specific crisis, or UNHCR or IOM? All this information is also on the platform. This is the way the platform looks like. The website is just data.comdata.org. It's an open platform where just last year we count a little more than 1.2 million users coming to the platform. A lot because there were a lot of people interested on the COVID crisis, so we had a lot of users looking for this type of data on the platform. How the cases were evolving, how the deaths were evolving because of COVID on the platform. Who are the users of XDX? So we have a wide range. It goes from students, children that attend school also looking for population figures, but all the way to humanitarians that are looking for data to understand the evolution of a crisis or how the crisis is at this moment. But also we have journalists coming to the platform. There are also a good group of analysts looking for data, and also data scientists that they want to do their modeling and analysis. Some figures about XDX. The platform was created in 2014, where we have just a handful of organizations that believe on the idea of having an open platform. UNOSAT was there, UNHCR was there. Now there are a bit more than 300 organizations that we have developing very amazing partnership with UNICEF, with IOM, with WHO, several ministries of health, several cluster groups, academics, universities, PDCs there as well. So a lot of organizations that they believe on open data and they share the data on the platform. We have a little bit more of 2.2 downloads last year. So that means users that come to the platform, they found the data that we're looking for, and they download the information. So that last statistic is really giving us like the hope that this platform may be useful for the humanitarian community. It's kind of like a proxy for use. So lots of downloads on the platform. We have at the moment a little more than 18,000 data sets from the different organizations. We have at the moment a project going on trying to make sure that the data that's on XDX is not becoming obsolete or dead. You know, as they mentioned on the plenary, we don't want these platforms to become a graveyard of data sets. So we are looking constantly just to make sure that the metadata is up to date, that the data is updated, that every data set has a robust section of metadata. So we believe on the power of metadata for people to use the information in the proper way. But at the same time, we realized that there are some gaps, a lot of gaps in some critical areas for humanitarian response. So we have come with the idea of organizing the data on XDX in something that we call internally data grids, but data grids is nothing else than just group the data in such a way you can come to the platform, just type the country that you're interested and see what is available and what is missing. So we have data grid for 27 countries, and those countries are countries for which there is an interagency response plan. So you come and you see immediately what we have and what is missing. So big gaps that we have, unfortunately, on the location of health facilities. So that has been a big headache for us to find the location of hospitals, clinics, so we can use it for humanitarian response. So we are not just looking at a number, 25 hospitals in Ethiopia or something. We are looking for data sets that are in a machine-readable format so the community can use them, that they have disaggregation at the subnational level. So that means in the case of Afghanistan, we need a number for Afghanistan, but also we need numbers for the different provinces. How many hospitals and clinics are in Kandahar, Nimruz, and Kabul, in all the different provinces in Afghanistan? We're also looking for a data set that is up to date. That is not from before the Taliban or is from 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So it has to be updated. So this is kind of a quality control that we put on XDX. So whenever you come to the platform, you can see data that is relevant for you, but also that you can use for analysis. And just to finish, having so much information on the platform gives you the opportunity to elaborate more comprehensive dashboards that can give you a very good view of crisis. In this case, this is the COVID-19 XDX Data Explorer that combined a little more than 60 different data sets from different sources, from about 18, 20 sources. So you can see what is the impact on the status of the COVID-19 in different countries. So in this case, we are monitoring 60 countries from the global humanitarian overview, where you can come and see what are the cases and deaths because of COVID, but also the food situation, food prices that we get from our colleagues in Rome, from the World Food Program, and also from our colleagues on IPC, but also what is the status of schools, whether or not a school is closed, partially closed, kids studying remotely, from UNESCO that we get, and also how many students have been affected. We have also a financing data coming to the platform, to the dashboard, and the beauty of this, in addition, that is super beautiful, and I like it very much, is that you can get the data sets directly from XDX. All the data sets that are portrayed on this dashboard, you can download them directly from the platform. So if you have a couple of minutes to explore the visualization, I really invite you because it's certainly very useful. So if you have also, the last comment, if you have data to share, I mean, we are believers of open data. There are a lot of benefits that you can have sharing your data, not only on XDX, but in any other platform. And if you want to talk and discuss how you can do that, I will be around. I will be happy to talk to you. Otherwise, we have an email there at centerhomedata@un.org. Thank you, Tocayo.
Okay, thank you, Javier. Thank you very much. Let's offer him an applause, please. Warm applause for Javier. Javier Terán, he's the man. He's always around. Okay, thank you very much for hearing. Thank you very much for staying with us, because I know you might be willing to go and prepare for the night. You know, we're having this gala dinner today, so you might be in a rush, and that's really valuable that you stay still. What we will next go to, it would be to Julia Janicki. You see, Javier has shown us, and also my friend here, Monica, and also Dana has shown us that if we have data, we can do really good stuff. We have gone also for the quality assurance issues, and that's already processing as well than collecting, right? So those are the first stages, no statistics, generally speaking. But now we're going to the last stage of it, of the process, say, or the last process. That will be the visualization. So Julia Janicki, a data journalist, she works for several organizations, including Reuters, and she's a Miladian, so she will be really longing to be really brief, because we don't have that much time, and we'll have to go to Enschede, where we have the demonstration. So, Julia, are you already there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Go ahead. We are waiting and really expecting your presentation for
Okay.
data visualization. Thank you. What is a data journalist, by the way?
It's basically you combine research and technology and design, and you do some research on the topic, and you present it in a multimedia form. That's one of my many definitions, but that's what I believe.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So now let's go to the BIS thing, how to show stuff to people. And basically this is called, you know, the dissemination stages, statistics, national statistical offices, and other ministries. Do we have the slides for her? Yeah, please, let's flash them. And we go ahead. You're going to be guided from here, so feel comfortable.
Hi, I'm Julia Janicki. I'll be going over some open source tools for cleaning data, creating data visualizations and maps. Next, please. So I'm a data viz developer and a data journalist, and you can see some of my work here. I work with data on a daily basis, and communicating with data is the final step of the process, as you can see in my previous colleagues' slides, and it involves data cleaning, exploration, analysis, and finally visualization. So in my work, I use a variety of open source tools to work with data, including a lot of geospatial data. So this will be a very practical talk. I'll go over my process, give you an overview of the tools I use at each step, and point you to some good resources out there. Next, please. The images are not showing up for some reason, but it's okay, I'll just go ahead. So basically, the first step is you must identify your goal. So what is your purpose? Who is your target audience? And what questions do you want to answer? And once you've determined that, there are some decisions you have to make on the visualization details. Do you want to make a static graphic, for example, an infographic for a communication campaign, or interactive graphic such as a data story? Do you want to make a bar chart or something a bit less standard, such as a tree map? Or what type of map do you want to make? Is it that dot density map or a choropleth map? And finally, you want to decide if you wanted to let your audience explore for their own insights, or do you want to present facts to them, or you want to tell a story? Next, please. So once you've made these decisions, the first step is to find your data source. And here I'm using two data sets related to climate change as example, because I've been recently working on some projects related to climate change, and climate action is also a SDG. So for example, the disasters data set I found on HDX, it shows disaster by country and year and type, and the number of events and number of people affected. The second is an ND gain index created by an academic institution that shows climate change, vulnerability, and readiness by country and rank. So once you have your data, you need to clean it in order to arrange it in a form that you can work with. And personally, I enjoy using R and specifically the tidyverse collection to clean data because it's really intuitive and easy to learn. For example, for the disaster data set, I could easily filter the years and the disaster types I want. I could create new columns based on information from the other columns. I can group by the different columns and take the summary. And I can even give my data set a spatial nature. For example, I added centroids, which is the center lat long, to each country. And after that, you can do some data exploration analysis. You can easily do that also using R, but I actually prefer to use Observable Notebook, which is an interactive JavaScript notebook, because it's actually really good for organization. I could put everything on one page. I can mix the markdown, which is text, and the code and the visuals. I can import JavaScript libraries such as Vega and D3 for visualization purposes. And I can even add UI elements such as sliders to interact with my data. Next, please. And here, finally, you can visualize your data after exploration and analysis. And here I'm using two examples to show some interactive visualizations. So on the left is an interactive map. And when I create interactive maps, I usually use Mapbox. As you can easily style the base map using Studio, then you can use JavaScript to add interactivities. So this map here, for example, I made using the two data sets that I mentioned earlier. The ND gain index is shown as a choropleth map in the background with the disaster data set overlaid on top, and you can filter the disaster data set by decade and by disaster type. Another way of visualizing your data, it can be a data-driven story, and I usually use JavaScript. For example, more specifically, D3 for the visualizations, Mapbox for the map, and scroll library for the scrolly effect. Data stories are a lot more immersive. They're good for creating emotional connections with the audience, and you can easily include multimedia graphics such as images or videos and even audio. And for example, here is a data story I helped develop on the climate crisis while I was doing my fellowship with the Center for Humanitarian Data. It was just recently published, and so you could take a look at it at the end. Next slide, please. Next, please.
If you want to get closer to the images, we invite you as well.
Could you advance to the next slide?
People
Thank
are not seeing the details. That's why we were asking that.
Okay.
So you go ahead.
Okay, well, this is the final slide. So I just wanted to not discourage anyone out there who don't know how to code, because there are actually a lot of really good resources that you could use to create visuals. For example, Flourish, you could use to create interactive data visualizations and storytelling. You could use Data Wrapper and Tableau to create charts and maps, and Tableau more specifically also for dashboards and infographics. Raw Graphs is really good for creating non-standard static charts, and you can export it as a SVG to work with it even more. And QGIS is for anything more spatial, so for example, maps and satellite images. And at the end, I just wanted to give you two really good resources if you wanted ideas to create more non-standard charts. First is the DataViz project, and the second is from data to viz. And the second one is really great also for learning code, because they have code examples for D3, Python, and R for many of the charts. Next, please. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And you can see my work and also the newly published data story here. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.
Okay, Julia, thank you very much. This applause is for you. Great job. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
we could do both. This is a, a literally interactive session, at least it's something crazy or like that. But anyway, have anyone any questions? We do have more stuff to show, if you like. Who has a question? No one? No one is eager to know which are the SDGs with this kind of data? No one would like to know a specific SDG or, relationship between databases and so on? We will answer to this following up. Yeah, the gentleman, you have the mic. Please, could you hand over with care? Yeah, we don't want to share too much the mics.
Right, so my name is Daniel. I would like to ask a question to the gentleman here, the one from Humanitarian Data Exchange. Thank you. I used your products very when I was in my PhD research, so thank you very much for what you guys are doing. But then the question I have is, how do you get the data in the first place? Because when you show that grade that you are developing, I saw a session where people can actually add data, which means that if I go to that platform, I can add any data that I want. How does that data go to that certification process that you talk about?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the question. So the way we work is that organizations can upload the data on the platform, but they go through a check. So we have requests from organizations from the field, the different organizations in the UN system. We just make sure that they are a humanitarian organization, and we ask them for metadata. So you can go to XDX and actually find population densities for a variety of sources. So it's up to the user to decide which source to use. There is no one data set that fits all the data needs, or the user needs, I'm sorry. So it depends on what are you looking for. So maybe the one data set have a better coverage on the north of Yemen, whereas another one is covering to the south. So we do a check just to make sure that the organization that is sharing the data has a quality control, has a methodology, has a license under which the data can be shared. So that's the way we do. So the data that you find on XDX is not, most of it is not OCHA based. We do have some data sets related to OCHA, like the 3Ws, the access constraints that we collect, the people in need, and so on. But a lot of data sets are coming from our partners, from UNICEF, from WHO, from IOM, from the refugees agencies. And we try that these connections are with programmatic connections, so via APIs, so there is not a manual intervention. And on top of that, the team runs a quality control just to make sure that the data that is on XDX is relevant. So we check the metadata, we check that it's a clear specification of what's the source of the information, that the data has a date stamp, so we know to which period the data refers, and that has a license under which the data set can be shared. So that's the way we do. So, it's a complex process, but we kind of know what the community is looking for. That's why we came also with that idea of the data grids, where we are putting the data gaps and the data that we're looking for. So I hope I kind of answered your question.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We're entering the colorful stage of this presentation, and if you allow us 5 minutes more, are we in or out? Hands up, people who would live right now, and we wrap up, or you stay? What is the feel of the room? Like to stay? I don't see hands down, but I can understand you are interested. So anyway, here's a hand up. Thank you for that, lady. Anyway, we will be introducing right now Chi from Shushu. He's a student, a very skilled student that knows how to use the GRIF platform. Are you there, Chi?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, Javier.
Hello there. How are you? How are things in Netherlands?
I'm good.
Great.
It's raining now, but everything is good.
Okay. You are defined as a creative and intelligent person, so the floor is yours, and try to do the best to show your skill with scripting and stuff. What have you got for us?
Can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should. Yeah, no problem.
But the Zoom says I don't have the access. Can someone help me grant
Okay,
an
we'll
access?
grant you access. Allow me.
Sorry.
Hello. It's not a problem. Go ahead. Please introduce the platform we are speaking about. What are we speaking about?
Okay, hello everyone. So from the presentation before, I think we all understand the huge potential of the increasing geospatial data, which is fundamental to support achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. However, in order to measure the SDGs more accurately, routinely, and also across different scales, it is far from enough to just collect data from different sources. But the data itself also needs to be further processed, analyzed, and visualized in an innovative and collaborative way to extract useful information for our users. And this should not only be restricted to the researchers. Instead, we think that the communities, local authorities, and other stakeholders can also play. Oh, yes, sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't. Can I share my screen now? Okay. I'll continue. Okay, and so to achieve this, we believe it is possible if we can build an easy to use and open cloud-based geospatial computing platform that allows access to available data and also provide necessary tools for analysis and visualization. So with this vision in mind, in 2020, ITC launched its own geospatial computing platform called CRIP. It is designed to people who are new to interactive computing and also can be easily accessed by a web browser. So it is very user-friendly and also convenient. Here I'm supposed to show the interface, but okay, I'll just keep talking. I personally also did my MSc thesis using the CRIP platform. It is very handy because it has a lot of pre-installed packages, and also it supports lots of computing language, for example, like Python, R, or Java. And also it's based on a lot of open software and hundreds of packages. Also,
Okay.
as a user, you could share, interact, sorry?
Yeah, we are having the images of the slides that were sent by the Geo Big Data Center. So speak freely,
Yes.
and we are going to follow you, okay? Please share
Okay,
the slides
yes.
we have.
Yes, and
Okay,
also as a user, you could share, interact with other people within the shared space, which would help the collaboration of different groups. Additionally, we also provide different computing units, which you can choose according to your request. They are sustainable and also eco-friendly. Also, as a user, you have the service supported by our CRIP team 24/7. And one application example of the CRIP is the Ideal Maps network. And actually, I participated in the project as an intern to help collect, pre-process, and compile the covariate data. So all the pre-processed data were uploaded and stored on the CRIP server, and later they were shared to all the parties who are involved in this project. And on the Ideal Map data, we have all the data we collected for 3 pilot cities, Accra, Lagos, and also Nairobi. And also we provide the metadata tables. The idea of the project is to create an open community where different modelers could really participate and also contribute, like different stakeholders. So we believe that by using such an open geospatial computing platform, we would be able to bring more participations from different researchers, community, stakeholders. So therefore, the results from the Ideal Maps would be more context-based and also accurate, so that we could facilitate the measuring and monitoring of the SDG indicator across different cities and scales. And this is our vision. And it's really sad that we could not show the CRIP platform, but if you have any, if you would like to reach out, here is the link of the CRIP platform, and also you can feel free to follow us on Big Geodata at Twitter, and also feel free to reach out to contact. And thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I applaud for you. Okay.
May I just have one or two sentences about CRIP? Is it okay? Just to explain, it was meant to show you really the platform and also having the feeling what you can do with geospatial models, because the platform has been built with a lot of covariates which can inform a local SDG reporting. And this platform is in principle open for researchers and interested people who want to build models based on the data. So what we have in this data set is layers which are built on open geospatial data sets, We have also collected with community groups in the moment in 2 cities, but also starting in a 3rd city, community-based data to have local ground validation data, which can be used to build models. And that's very unique because often you have only, let's say you have data which are built by modelers, but we really worked with local community groups to collect this data and also to have this agreement of what is on the ground. And therefore, really a call to interested modelers who want to use and also work with these data sets, contact us if you want to access them. And that's what we were aiming to demonstrate now, but unfortunately it failed because it couldn't be shared. Itchy couldn't share his screen because of whatever privacy restrictions. Thanks, Javier.
Okay, thank you very much. Just want to say goodbye. Please join us, the speakers, pictures as well. Javier, please. And also Monica. Please come. We're going to say goodbye as a play, you know, like racing. Exactly. And we wanted to, that was it, exactly. It was not rehearsed, really. But we want to say thank you and give you a gift. But it will be a raffle, you know. So we will start by beside those that are here, which is the eldest person in this room. Would anyone like to self-select? Okay, come on, come here, come on, don't be afraid, come on. Very well, you don't have to tell us your age, come on. We want to give you this gift from GeoCensos. Please come here, we are going to hand it to you. That was bold in another sense, you know, like really bold to be able to recognize and to self-select yourself. So thank you very much. We want to hand you this nice gift from GeoCensos, which is basically the message we always give. Collaboration is the key. So thank you very much. Your name, please?
Athanasios. I'm Athanasios.
Athanasios.
You know, I didn't expect I was going to get a gift, you know, for this.
Okay.
For just, you know, volunteering to
yeah, but
confess, you know, to you my age.
Yeah, it's not easy. No, it's not easy, and you have to, you know, survive to the World Data Forum. We've been here for ages, so we thought that it would be a nice gift to someone. And so, please, Olga, would you like to give a word to Olga?
Remember, please, Athanasios?
Athanasios, yes.
Athanasios, remember, collaboration, it's the key. And we map together our work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Athanasios.
Very much appreciate that.
So kind. Now Olga would be handing over
prize,
some gifts.
Just out of but by the way, I have to give you congratulations for this. You know, probably, you know, it was the most, how to say, certainly most interactive, but probably in my book, the most interesting, you know, session that I've been so far in this conference, which is a great conference, by the way. But this was like outperforming everyone, you know, so far. But,
okay, so, thank you very much. A big applause for all of us.
Congratulations to everyone. Okay, it's not because I got a T-shirt. Okay.
It was all a rage, not for nothing at the end.
Someone remember where am I from? Colombia.
Very well. Who remember that? Very well. We'll have a World Data Forum in Colombia, so we will expect you there.
Yes, Chiva and coffee candies. Okay. And this
Chiva is the small buses where people dance on. Claudia knows. Someone knows here, right? You get on the bus and you party there. You have room. You also have some other stuff, like white one. But you have a great time there. So,
another question.
who is the youngest in the room? Is Alicia here from the Youth Initiative? Who's the youngest? Come on, raise your hands. Don't be shy. Boyan. Come on, we're Boyan. Come on,
Boyan is down
the
there.
guy's there in the end. Yeah, come on. Yeah, that's the guy. Come on. You are invited. You are in for a treat. Okay, thank you very much for also acknowledging you are the youngest. We want evidence. We want evidence.
You want data for the oldest student.
Who feels younger than this
You need to go. I'm
person?
agoraphobic. You know.
Which is your name?
Boyan.
Boyan, okay.
These old fellas are, probably having problems with their sight. So yeah, I'm definitely not the youngest, but it's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have a younger and an older one, and we always are happy for that. But, this is the bridge of generations. So thank you very much for coming, for staying there and learning geospatial data in 75 minutes. Thank you very much.